Okay, close your eyes for a second and just picture Karamoja.
Mm,
You might see these huge open landscapes, maybe those rugged mountains or, the amazing wildlife in Kittapro Valley.
all right.
Or maybe it's the really vibrant, resilient culture of the Karamojong people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now picture someone actually standing there, a traveler, and they're looking for something, well, something real, something they won't forget.
That's it. That's really the heart of adventure tourism, isn't it? And Karamoja has this, well, incredible, almost untapped potential right now.
Exactly. And guess what? This whole adventure market across Africa, it's not just potential anymore. It's actually set for some pretty significant growth.
It really is. The global shift in how people want to travel is massive. They're
Yeah.
kind of moving away from just, ticking boxes on sightseeing tours.
Yeah.
They're looking for experiences that are genuinely immersive, unique. And places like Karamoja, with that raw natural beauty, those specific mountains you mentioned, the distinct culture, it just offers the perfect canvas for that kind of adventure.
So that's what we're doing in this deep dive. We've been digging through the materials you shared, the Karamoja Destination Management Plan, or DMP, plus some recent research on sustainable tourism and what's happening in the adventure travel market.
Right.
Our mission here, it's really to cut through all that information and pull out the most practical, actionable insights specifically for you, the staff at Kara-Tunga.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding, okay, who is this modern adventure traveler? What do they actually value?
Yeah.
And then how can Kara-Tunga use the regional blueprint that DMP combined with these principles of sustainable tourism to craft experiences that, well, truly stand out and help figure out your next steps?
Think of it like connecting the dots, really, between the big global trends, the regional vision for Karamoja, and the specific, amazing experiences you guys are creating every single day.
Okay, so let's start with that bigger picture, the global context, because it kind of sets the scene, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
The Africa adventure tourism market isn't just seeing like a little bit of growth, it's seriously accelerating. The numbers are pretty compelling.
They are.
It's projected to hit, what, USD 53.9 billion by 2035, growing at a compound annual growth rate of around 11.2%.
Wow.
That's not slow growth, that's a really rapidly expanding landscape.
It really is. And what's driving that speed?
Well, obviously you've got more people traveling internationally, that's a factor.
Yeah.
But critically, it's also about these nature and culture experiences being, properly developed and formalized into actual bookable tourism products.
What's fascinating there, tying into that growth, is the motivation behind it.
Yeah.
Travelers aren't just booking trips anymore. They're actively seeking meaning, connection. This whole global shift towards sustainable and experience-driven travel, it really positions Africa's adventure sector as a major player. And it's intrinsically linked to, protecting nature, celebrating cultural heritage, and genuinely contributing to rural development. It's sort of a powerful combination.
You really see this playing out in the demand for customization. The sources show that custom travel experiences are forecast to make up a huge chunk, like 70% of Africa's adventure market by 2025.
70%.
Yeah, think about that. 7 out of 10 travelers want something tailored, not just an off-the-shelf package. They're after meaningful, personalized journeys. It's what some folks are calling intentional tourism.
And we can see this happening like concretely right here in the region. Look at Uganda. You've got operators crafting these hybrid trips, maybe combining mountain biking with gorilla trekking.
Right.
Or over in Tanzania, they're doing tailored summit experiences on Kili combined with, say, stays in Maasai villages. These are complex, really unique itineraries built around what that specific traveler is interested in, not some standard tour.
Exactly. They're creating something for that person specifically. And, we're seeing other trends popping up too. Things like female-led expeditions are growing. There's more interest in backpacker-style safaris, and cultural homestays seem to be getting more popular. It's a really diverse and kind of constantly evolving space.
Which brings us to, I think, a really crucial point for you guys at Kara-Tunga. Who is this traveler?
Yeah.
The one who wants this kind of crafted adventure in a place like Karamoja. What are they actually thinking when they're searching online, when they're booking?
That's the absolute key, isn't it? Because understanding who you're talking to, who you're designing these experiences for, it just changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
The sources highlight that the general appetite for travel is really strong.
Yeah.
And specifically, searches for activities have seen incredibly high growth lately. People aren't just browsing destinations. They're actively looking for things to do.
And here's a nuance the research points out, which is interesting. Yes, okay, many consumers are pretty cost conscious right now. Price sensitivity is definitely increasing.
Sure.
But, and this is so vital for providing real value, They are absolutely willing to increase their overall budget if they feel, and I quote, the experience was worth the cost.
Okay.
And the flip side is just as important. The top reason people give for negative reviews is feeling they didn't get the full service or the full experience they actually paid for.
Right.
So it's less about being the absolute cheapest and much more about delivering that perceived value that really justifies the price point.
That makes complete sense. It's all about that value exchange. And tied directly into that perceived value is this huge demand for sustainability. It's loud and clear in the research.
Yeah.
Half of travelers say they're willing to pay more for sustainable options, and even more are willing to sacrifice things like maybe convenience or a bit of comfort for a choice that feels more sustainable.
What's particularly interesting here, and maybe a bit challenging for operators, is that 2 out of 3 consumers actually want more sustainability information from the providers.
Oh.
They feel they need that information to make informed decisions that line up with their values. BUT. And this is a big but. They're also pretty wary.
Yeah, the whole greenwashing problem. I saw that stat, something like over 75% of travelers were skeptical of sustainability claims back in a 2021 study.
Exactly. They don't just want to hear you say you're green. They want evidence, proof.
Right.
They're looking for genuinely sustainable options, maybe even going beyond that to regenerative travel that actively makes the place better. So while, yeah, they might be willing to pay more, there's this real trust deficit you kind of have to overcome first.
And the research does acknowledge, too, doesn't it, that even with that willingness, the actual price markup for sustainable products can still be a barrier for some travelers. It's a bit complex.
It is complex, yeah, but it's also full of opportunity if you can get it right. And beyond just sustainability, that desire for authenticity and connection is just soaring. Interest in meeting locals, learning about local culture, it's incredibly high and still increasing. Something like 88% saying it's the same or even higher priority than it was before 2019. Travelers really crave that genuine interaction. They want to connect with the place and its people on a deeper level.
And this next one is pretty exciting when you think about Karamoja's potential.
Yeah.
Consumers seem more open than ever to real adventure, to thrill-seeking, even to what you might call extreme or frontier experiences.
Yeah.
They seem driven by that desire for unique bucket list moments, and apparently have a greater tolerance for risk when they're seeking something truly special.
Yeah.
Karamoja's whole vibe, its nature, its culture, seems to align perfectly with this craving for the authentic and the adventurous.
Definitely. And finally, you just can't talk about the modern traveler without talking about technology. It's unavoidable.
Sure.
Especially, younger demographics like Gen Z, they are constantly connected. They rely heavily on tech for inspiration, planning, booking, getting info during their trip, and then, of course, sharing their experiences afterwards.
So a smooth online experience isn't just nice to have anymore.
Not at all. It's basically an expectation across that whole journey, from, dreaming about the trip right through to sharing the photos.
Okay, right. So we've got this booming, fast-changing adventure market in Africa. We have a clearer picture of what the traveler in this market is looking for. Value that feels truly worth it, genuine sustainability they can trust and actually verify, authentic cultural connection, unique adventures, and smooth tech interactions all the way. Now, the big question, how do we take all of that and apply it directly, practically, to Karamoja Adventure Tours? This is really where the rubber meets the road for you guys, the staff at Kara-Tunga.
Yeah, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because Karamoja already has the foundational assets that these travelers are actively looking for. Like the destination management plan highlights, its strength really lies in its sheer diversity. You've got the culture, the nature, the adventure experiences. Think Kadepo Valley National Park. Those dramatic mountains, the incredible depth of the Karamojan culture. This isn't just a nice to have, it's the core offering that directly matches the demand we were just talking about.
And that DMP, it's not just some document sitting on a shelf, right?
Yeah.
It actually sets a strategic direction.
Exactly.
It explicitly aims for sustainable tourism development. And crucially, it prioritizes specific types of visitor flows that are directly relevant to Kara-Tunga's focus on adventure. It specifically calls out mountaineers and FITs.
Fifth seats being the foreign independent travelers.
Right, those folks exploring culture and nature more independently. These aren't just generic target groups. The plan actually identifies them as key opportunities for the region.
So let me try and translate the DMP's prioritized activities for these specific groups into concrete practical tasks for you. For mountaineers, the plan is incredibly specific, actually. It talks about establishing quality camping infrastructure, not just any campsite. It mentions building local community capacity and guide capacity that's specifically tailored to mountain environments and trekking.
Ah, specialized skill.
Yeah, exactly. Forming a guides association, doing targeted marketing aimed right at this niche group, and establishing mountain safety and rescue training. These aren't just vague ideas, these are listed action points right there in the official regional plan. If you're involved in mountain tours at Kara-Tunga, this is basically your checklist coming straight from the strategy.
That level of detail is incredibly helpful, isn't it? It
Yeah.
gives such a clear direction. And what about for the TEFTs, the independent travelers?
For FATs, the plan also gives really high priority to something that's vital for that customization demand we discussed earlier, the continuous identification and development of new products and experiences specifically for this group.
Continuous, so it's not a one-off thing.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process. Keep the offerings fresh, keep them relevant, keep tailoring them.
Yeah.
And that's actually where something like the GIZ Handbook on Regional Tourism Development can be a great resource. It talks about diversification, creating a multifunctional region with what they call modular elements that you can combine flexibly.
Modular elements, like building blocks.
Kind of, yeah. This concept is perfect for developing those new customizable experiences for FATs. Think about creating different lengths of hikes, different types of cultural interactions, maybe various village visits that travelers can mix and match based on their interests and how much time they have.
Okay, I see.
The GIZ handbook also mentions using tools like the persona method to really get inside the heads of your target travelers, kind of walk in their shoes to truly tailor those offerings effectively.
Okay, so we're developing the right kind of experiences, authentic, customizable, adventure-focused. But how do we weave in that really crucial demand for authentic, verifiable sustainability? We know travelers are skeptical about greenwashing.
Right. And this is where insights from sources like the Intrepid Guide become so valuable because they offer really practical, not just theoretical approaches. Sustainable tourism, as they frame it, involves actually measuring your impact.
Measuring, how so?
Well, they talk about tracking things like your trip emissions and really breaking them down by component, like how much comes from accommodation, how much from transport, meals, activities, even waste generation.
Okay, so you can't really manage what you don't measure. Is that the idea?
Precisely. And once you have some of that data, even if it's approximate at first, you can start exploring what they call decarbonization levers.
Levers, like
Yeah.
ways to reduce the impact.
Exactly. Intrepid gives examples that are really relevant for tour operators like you. Things like improving fuel efficiency in your vehicles, maybe looking ahead longer term to cleaner transport options like EVs or hybrids if and when that becomes feasible in Karamoja,
Yeah.
or even just rethinking itineraries sometimes could a slightly slower pace maybe allow for less transport overall and perhaps even a deeper experience for the traveler.
Interesting. And then how do you communicate that measurement, that effort, transparently?
Yeah.
Especially when, as we said, travelers are wary.
You got to be upfront about it, I think.
Yeah.
Intrepid's approach of putting carbon labels on their trips, even if they admit it starts as more of a guide than an exact audited science, is one example of trying to be transparent.
So it's about showing the effort.
Yeah. The key is communicating your genuine efforts clearly, showing you're actively working on it, rather than just making these vague, green-sounding claims. Remember, 2 in 3 travelers want this info, so give it to them clearly and honestly.
And of course, a huge part of genuine sustainability and something travelers are really looking for is supporting the local communities, right?
Absolutely. But that comes through loud and clear in the sources. Supporting local livelihoods, your guides, your suppliers, local artisans, homestay hosts, it's fundamental to sustainable, community-based tourism. And it resonates so deeply with travelers who are seeking those authentic connections we talked about. Plus, it aligns perfectly with the DMP's own goals for community benefit. Think about the examples in the GIZ handbook, like that Rwanda community-based tourism project linking tours directly to community businesses, or the Sri Lanka examples connecting travelers with local farmers or basket weavers. These links create income, and they create those authentic experiences travelers want.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the challenges? The mapped visitor flows in the DMP and other sources too mention potential hurdles. Things like maybe inconsistent guide skills, limited online information or booking options, and sometimes those perceived safety concerns in the region. How do we proactively tackle those based on what we've read?
Well, you connect the problems directly to the solutions that are already identified in the plans.
Oh, okay.
That challenge around guide skills, for instance. The DMP directly addresses it with its priority on guide training, including those specialized skills like mountaineering or maybe cultural interpretation, depending on the type of tour.
Right.
The issue of limited online info and booking options, which was noted as a challenge, that connects directly to the need we discussed for leveraging technology for creating those seamless online experiences throughout the whole traveler journey, something highlighted in the WTM and Queensland documents. Making it easy for people to find, learn about, and actually book a Karamoja adventure online is absolutely crucial.
And addressing those perceived safety and security concerns head on. How do you do that effectively?
Well, again, the DMP has high priority activities specifically planned for safety and security working groups. It also emphasizes targeted marketing that includes clear, honest safety messages. And managing expectations up front, like the Expedia report suggests, is also key to building trust and painting a realistic picture of what travel in a frontier region like Karamoja is like.
It really sounds like achieving all of this,
Yeah.
developing these new experiences, implementing real sustainability, tackling the challenges, it really requires everyone pulling together, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The GIZ handbook makes a really strong point about this. Achieving diversification and hitting those sustainable tourism goals requires active cooperation right across the entire tourism value chain, everyone involved. And the good news is the DMP actually provides that necessary framework with its plan working group structure. Specific groups focused on mountaineering, on FITs, on training, on safety and security.
So this really involves you guys, the Kara-Tunga staff, collaborating not just internally among yourselves, but also with other local operators, with community members, and with those crucial government bodies like UWA, the Uganda Wildlife Authority, and UTB, the Uganda Tourism Board.
Exactly. Those GIZ concepts of efficient governance and good network management within these groups are vital for making sure that collaboration actually leads to tangible results and achieving those shared objectives. It's about building a cohesive tourism ecosystem where everyone understands the shared vision and works together to make it happen, promoting that sense of team spirit the GIZ source emphasizes.
All right, so let's try and bring it all together then. The adventure tourism market in Africa is definitely on a steep growth curve. It's being driven by travelers who are specifically seeking authenticity, customization, genuine sustainability they can trust, incredible value for their money, and unique adventures, often planned and booked using technology. And Karamoja, with its incredibly rich natural and cultural assets, is just uniquely positioned to meet this demand.
Perfectly positioned.
So by focusing really keenly on the needs of these specific travelers, especially those the DMP identifies, like mountaineers and FATs, and by actively pursuing the priorities and the actions that are already outlined in the DMP, while really embedding authentic, measurable sustainability practices into every single tour, well, Kara-Tunga staff can dramatically enhance the visitor experience.
And crucially, this isn't just about improving individual tours, is it? It's about contributing significantly to the whole region's sustainable development, helping build stronger communities, maybe helping improve infrastructure where it's needed, and enhancing the overall capacity of the tourism sector through that vital collaboration across the value chain, all guided by the regional plan.
It really does boil down to aligning what the modern adventure traveler wants with the incredible potential Karamoja offers, and using the existing blueprint, the DMP, as a practical guide for how to develop all of that responsibly and effectively.
Which kind of leaves us with this final thought for you to mull over. How might really embracing these specific traveler insights and dedicating yourselves as a team to working through the actionable steps laid out right there in the Karamoja DMP position the region not just as another adventure destination on the map, but as a leading, truly compelling example of how authentic, sustainable adventure tourism can genuinely thrive and bring tangible benefits to absolutely everyone involved?
Something powerful to consider as you plan your work for the coming days and weeks. Thanks for diving deep with us.